I'm going to be taking through the market sizing questions with you and how you could think about approaching this. So market sizing question can either be like a smaller question embedded into a bigger case question, or Bain does a specific round that is 45 minutes just on market sizing. I will be going through a really thorough way to approach it. And then after you've practiced it a few times, you'll definitely get the swing of things. So market sizing is basically when you are asked to estimate the market of a particular item or a particular business. And so, as I said, it can be embedded into like a bigger case question. So, for example, if your case question ends up being about the manufacturing of meat, let's say, before you actually get into what the problems are and actually getting into solving the case, the interviewer might ask you to estimate what that meat market size is. So really, there's 5 simple steps. So the first one is always to clarify. The second one would be to set up your structure. The third one is to add your assumptions in. The fourth would be to calculate, and the fifth would be to sense check. Okay, so that probably seems like quite a lot, especially if you're not familiar with this, but we're going to go through each of these steps one by one so that you have an idea as to what to do at each step before we move on to the next thing. And again, disclaimer, this is going to be a lot of information, but the main thing is that as we're going through it, make sure that you understand kind of the logic behind why we're doing what we're doing. And then when you come back to revisit the videos and go through it and practice, it will start becoming more intuitive, and you'll start remembering as any other skill. Okay, so let's start off with the clarifying bit. Okay, so these are considerations to scope out what the problem is. Like, what is the question that is being asked of you? And so to figure that out, you really want to consider 2 key things in terms of, how big the market is. So the first one is, what are we measuring the market by? And there's, we can either do this by the number of units that are sold within that market. So if we're taking this kind of meat package analysis, thinking about that, what is the units of that? Probably going to be weight, so perhaps pounds or kilos. How many kilos of that is sold within the region per time frame? Or it can be the value. So if we're in the UK, we're thinking about the pound value. If we're in the US, obviously dollar value, or if we're in Europe, it'll be the euros. And all that will be is, we're thinking that there's going to be X amount sold, which is in kilos, and then you've just got to add a calculation in to estimate how much that would be sold for to get the total value of that market. So that's really the first question that you want to make sure that you know clearly. Second is the time frame. So often the market size can be how much is sold over the course of a year, but sometimes it may not be so clear, and it might be the market size over a week or a day. So definitely something worth clarifying with your interviewer. Then there's 3 other things that you should consider. So you've got the geography, you've got the distribution channels, and you've got the product clarification. As you kind of go through it and practice this more, you will again kind of become more intuitive as to what needs clarifying. But these are kind of good things to bear in mind in your head, making sure that you've got a good grasp of it, even if you don't have to explicitly ask the interviewer. So as I said, in the geography or the location, you want to just clarify, so is this meat market that we're trying to size a global market? Is that the market within Europe, or is that a market just within the UK? And then we want to go into distribution channels. So this again depends on the market that you're trying to size. If we're thinking about bicycles, you know, the distribution channels can be, you know, you can get bike shops, you can get bikes from online platforms. You've got your brick and mortar stores, you've got the second hand space. So just to clarify which of those it's going to be, the likelihood is it's going to be all of those things. So it's going to be really simple, but I think clarifying will probably get you some brownie points, just to show that you're really thinking about this commercially. And then finally, product clarification. So again, we're just thinking about, you know, as a whole, we're trying to scope the problem so that we can narrow down this ambiguous question that's been asked us. So, you know, thinking about this meat package in terms of clarification, you could ask, do I need to size all meat, or am I looking at, you know, beef? Am I looking at pork? Am I looking at chicken? And because that would drastically change our answer and can potentially make things a lot simpler if we know it up front.
I think we could probably just think of the question words in this situation as well. So time frame would just be when, geography would just be where, channels could be how are you selling, online versus in a store, and then product is just what exactly is the product. Is it chicken? Is it beef? Is it pork? And then metric is just one that you should remember. So at least it should help to remember the other four.